Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Mary Talks Data. If you're new around here, I'm Mary. I'm a data and analytics professional and in general enthusiast for doing things better with data. In this video, we'll talk about the gender diversity gap. We'll talk about the top 3 problems which in my opinion help fuel the gap at the moment, and we'll talk about some specific steps that can be taken to reduce that gap. If you're a hiring manager, this video will be very useful in increasing the pool of female talent and in general improving the diversity of your team. If you're at an earlier stage in your career, watch this video to find out what you can expect from any modern analytics team. When we think of data science and analytics, we often think only about the technical skills which are required. However, there is a whole range of other skills which are needed for someone to be successful on the job. Data scientists need to be collaborative and to be able to work well in a team. We often work with many different teams across an organization. Data scientists need to be empathetic with their internal or external clients. They need to be able to fully understand the need of the consumer of the analytical product that will be produced. As such, we need to be able to build a very diverse data and analytics team because they need to interact with a whole range of colleagues from a whole range of walks of life. And this is the number one reason why it is important to build a diverse team. Technically speaking, the analyst or the machine learning developer inevitably biases the model they're building. As you know, the first point in building a model is the data selection, and as much as we wish for that to be completely fair and unbiased, there is an element of the data that is used is the one that is being selected by the developer. And this is why it is very important to have a diverse set of developers working on any particular problem. And if the soft skills of your team and the technical robustness of the models they build are not enough of a motivation to build a diverse team, we need to point out that more and more organizations across Europe are deeply concerned with the gender diversity of their technical teams. Any organization that does not care about this will frankly miss out on the best talent. And as a result, I'm sure on good clients. To set the scene, I'd like to quote some numbers on the gender diversity gap, which were acquired by the Alan Turing Institute. If you're not familiar with it, the Alan Turing Institute is the UK institution for research in data analysis and artificial intelligence. They claim that 40% of the current UK workforce are women, and yet only 17% of the currently available tech jobs are held by women. They also surveyed 15-year-olds and they found that 41% of girls agree with the statement that they're not good at mathematics, and only 24% of the boys agree with the statement that they're not good at mathematics. And this goes even further because 5% of the boys said that they see themselves working in a tech job by the time they're 30, and only 0.5% of girls said that they see themselves working in a tech job by the time they're 30. Another number which I managed to get off their website is that 56% of women in technology leave their jobs at the mid-career point, and there are very few women at the top tiers of the tech organizations. While I will leave the proper scientific research to the Alan Turing Institute, and indeed they do have a particular project about that, what I will talk about today is mainly anecdotal and based on my personal experience and that of my colleagues. And indeed, it has happened to me so many times that I've walked into a job interview to be faced by an all-male panel. Or my friend walked into the first day of her job only to find out she will be sitting on a floor surrounded only by men. And I do hear from my male colleagues that at times they wanted to discuss their projects with women so that they gain a different perspective on their work. However, there were no women in their teams. So based on these experiences, I have compiled my top 3 problems which I think at the moment fuel the gender diversity gap. And before I get into each one of them, please hit the subscribe button and the bell right next to it so you can get updates of all my future content and not miss anything. Okay, now that you have subscribed to my channel, let's talk about the top 3 things you can do to reduce the diversity gap in your team. Number 1, hire female talent. It does sound obvious, however, many hiring managers struggle to hire women in their teams. And I will now give you 3 steps that you can take in order to hire more females in your team. Firstly, make sure there are women on the panel. Women candidates are more likely to give their best answers if there are other women on the panel. Likewise, you need to see how male candidates interact with women on the panel. In their day-to-day job, they will have to interact with other women. This is why it's very important to observe how the interaction goes early on. Having women on the hiring panel sends a clear message that the team is concerned with the gender diversity gap and is very keen on hiring women. The second thing you can do to make sure to hire women on your team is to tailor the job ad according to the current pool of talent. For example, if you're hiring for quite a senior technical position, it is well known that there are not so many women who hold senior positions at the moment. I think you should consider hiring someone a little bit more junior, however, with the potential to quickly grow into the position. A final piece of advice in hiring more female talent is to call out any family benefits in the job ad. It is known that one of the biggest hindrances for women to take on more responsibilities in their jobs is the inadequate provision for family care. Whether you have enhanced maternity packages or a creche on site or flexible hours, do call these out specifically in the job ad, and this will inevitably attract more women to apply for the job. Okay, now that you have some ideas about how to hire more female talent, the second thing we need to consider is how to make sure this talent doesn't leave. So what we need to do is create and maintain a supportive and inclusive culture in the team. And again, I will give you top 3 pieces of advice that I have from my personal experience about how to do this. Number 1, celebrate diversity. Send a clear message to your team that gender diversity is important. This way, the women will feel part of the team and will feel celebrated and included. In practical terms, what this means is, as a manager, you should be proud of the women that you have on the team and proud of the number of women that you have on the team. And you can call this out and compare to other benchmarks that are available. Number 2 is call out discrimination. It does inevitably happen, so make sure to call it out when it does happen. Often it is not done on purpose, however, it does still happen. And I can give you 2 examples here. One of them is women often get called emotional, so if they respond in a certain way to a situation at work, the response will be discarded as being emotional and not valid. However, if a man responds similarly, this would probably not happen. So make sure where this happens, to call it out and to say, hey, this isn't right. Another thing that might happen is, for example, a woman not getting a certain project because she's due to go on maternity leave. However, the projects should always be aligned to the people who are best suited to complete them and not based on any gender discrimination. And the final piece of advice which I have on creating a diverse environment is mentorship. So after you hire your female talent, make sure that they all have mentors in more senior positions and they have role models. Often what happens in technology is there are not so many women at senior positions, so females at a more junior point in their career don't really have strong role models to look up to and to aspire to. Make sure every woman on your team has a mentor and has a role model to look up to and to draw inspiration from. And I must say here that role model doesn't necessarily have to be a woman. It could well be a man, and this is not as important, but what is important is that every woman has someone's career journey to associate with so that they can strive to achieve more. The number 3 thing I would like to talk about is giving back. So if there are not so many women applying for the job, it means that there are not so many women getting to that point. So invest in talking to girls and female university students. Once you have hired some women on the team, send them back to schools and to universities to talk to younger girls and younger women about having a career in technology. Eventually, this will increase the number of females applying for the jobs, and it will mean that you will end up with a more diverse team over time. The same way as it is important for the women on your team to have role models and to have mentors, it is also important for them to become role models and to become mentors for younger females. And the final piece of advice I can give you here is to not ignore difficult questions and to always iterate your approach in hiring and maintaining female talent on your team. Encourage the conversation in your team about the gender diversity gap and encourage people to ask difficult questions. If you don't have answers readily available, it means that there is something that can be done on this. To summarize, the 3 things we spoke about are hiring more females, maintaining a diverse and inclusive environment, and giving back to younger girls and women. I've given you some concrete steps that you can follow, and please let me know in the comments below how the diversity in your team is going. Everything that we have discussed today can be adapted to mean diversity in other senses, but I have chosen to give you examples with gender diversity. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that already, and hit the bell right next to the subscribe button so you can receive updates to all my future content. Thank you for listening and see you in the next video. Bye!